Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Halftime Adjustments. We decided to take a break, just a brief break, just out of respects to Damar Hamlin. And this show is going to be extremely dedicated to him as a person, as a player, as a brother, as a father, as a son. We're not going to talk about anything fantasy-wise. At the end of the day, our podcast and what we talk about with fantasy is irrelevant. We play a game that is for the game of football. And if the game of football doesn't matter at this time, then our game has no relevance at all. But I want to start. I wanted to go ahead and start the podcast off with the good news, because it is January 5th. It's been 4 days since the incident happened on Monday, and but I want to read the Twitter post straight from the Buffalo Bills. It was per the physicians caring for Damar Hamlin at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. Damar has shown remarkable improvement over the past 24 hours while still critically ill. He has demonstrated that he appears to be neurologically intact. His lungs continue to heal, and he is making steady progress. We are grateful for the love and support we have received. That's incredible news. Obviously, the only thing that matters at this point is the health and well-being of Damar Hamlin. We have been praying for him nonstop. At the end of the day, the game is no fun if not everybody is 100% healthy. And the right call was made whenever they decided to stop the game. And I think that was the only call that should have been made. To even think about playing that game that would have been so tough for everybody. I mean, even the audience, I feel like, that was watching the game. But if for those of you that don't know what happened, T. Higgins was given a pass. It was about like a 15-yard pass. And what seemed to be a regular tackle ended up not being a regular tackle by Damar Hamlin, and it ended up having him go into cardiac arrest. And it was rough to see because he got up, he shot up, and then he immediately collapsed. Everybody that was covering the game felt the gravity of the situation. I think that everybody handled it really well. I mean, because it was a human life that was at stake there, and that was the only way to handle it, I think. I do have my best friend with me, Colton McCarley, as always. He is on the line as well. It's not just me, Derek, talking. Colton's here as well. I kind of want to get your thoughts on this, Colton, too. But obviously, we're not talking fantasy really at this time.
Yeah, sort of as Derek said, this is bigger than football. This is bigger than the game we play inside of a game. This is what it all comes down to is his health and his family right now. We have received phenomenal news, and we really waited. We normally put out our podcast on Tuesday, and we wanted to wait. This would have been delayed until we heard news. Obviously we were praying for positive news, but we weren't going to do anything until we heard a definitive where things were headed with Damar Hamlin. And thank goodness it was phenomenal news, actually, that not only is he awake, but they've said that he was alert enough to ask the doctor who won the game. The doctor replied, "You won. You won the game of life." He has... it's been confirmed that he has a movement of his hands and his feet, which is more excellent news. So, I mean, yeah, you talk about I don't think I've ever seen a situation like that in the game of American football. We saw something very similar with Christian Eriksen in European soccer last year or 2 years ago. And that stuff is just scary. It'll rock you to your core, and you could tell how much it affected the players. They absolutely made the right call. It did not matter. I mean, you saw Skip Bayless. I mean, just read the room a little bit. He posted that tweet of, obviously the player health matters, but let's talk about the seeding and how important this game is, and this has to be made up. And it's like, man, you just gotta. That stuff doesn't matter. None of it matters. It was all about the player health. This what it needed. All the focus needed to be on, and hopefully, stays on here is his continued recovery. And we wish him nothing but hopefully a speedy recovery, as we're now seeing that he's awake, alert, and having extremity movement. So looks like things are going in a positive direction for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And the best part about it is that he's, like you said, it's all spinning in a positive direction, which is which is incredible. Like the neurological part of it was the most pressing part. I think that was the most riskiest part. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're not adult doctors, but what we've heard is that this could have been really bad long term for his brain, and everything's pointing in the right direction. That he's awake, and that he's like everything is working right in his brain, which is the best part about it.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely what you want to see, especially having this traumatic event happen. And I mean, like, just like I saw the play happen live, and it was like, I was just literally like, I couldn't imagine the emotions from the players on the field. I mean, it was heartbreaking to see, like, especially whenever Damar Hamlin's mom comes out and just gets on that in the ambulance with him. It's so emotional, and it's so heavy, and it brings to light just how lucky we are to be talking about a game within a game, and they're out there just risking their lives for it. I mean, literally, the NFL players, they literally risk their lives for this game, and it's something that they love to do, and that's something that they went to school to do. And I mean, and it's one of those things too where, like, not even like any NFL player, they have to like the team has to protect the NFL player from themselves, because they're putting it all out on the field, and they're risking their lives out there. Like, they're risking their health, their well-being out there every day. But like I said, this is spinning in the positive direction. The main concern, I think, at this point is his lungs.
Yeah.
We need the prayers to keep coming, so that way his lungs can continue to get healthier, and so that way they can function on their own. So that way he can start breathing on his own. It's going to be a long journey for sure, but I mean, this is just a stepping stone into that sort of way to recovery.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, it's a lot better than the alternative, right? Like, the news that we're receiving, even if it's a long recovery, it's significantly better than the alternative. So I think, a very fortunate situation with everything that we know. And let's talk about one of the more positive things that came out of this, which is his Chasing M's Foundation for the community toy drive. I mean, this is phenomenal. I'm sure, again, unless you've been living under a rock, most of you are probably up to date. This is just our way of saying, basically our piece on the situation. And the Chasing M Foundation movement is just phenomenal. I think he had an initial goal of $2,500 for a toy drive for his community. And he's a 6th-round pick. This is not a guy who came out with like a bunch of status. So you can tell when his humble goal of $2,500 He didn't expect to get much out of this, and I'm looking now. This total is up to $7.5 million off of 229,000 donors. So this is phenomenal news, and I know the NFL fan base and people from all over the world have sort of rallied together to show their support here, and something that I've seen from a few different football leagues actually, and this was suggested to me, fantasy football leagues I should say. This was suggested in another one that I'm in, another league, that they're taking proceeds of their winnings, the winning players, and they're donating portions of it or the full amount to this GoFundMe. So that, to show, like you said, the only reason we get to play this game is because these players put their life on the line. And when something happens like this, the least you can do is give your $50 pot that you put in back to the player who is now having to recover from a situation. So I think it's great. It's beautiful. And this is just, again, one of those positive spins and shows you that world's not so broken. We can come together. We just we have to choose to. So I love seeing things like this. This is really, really positive, and I hope it just continues to climb.
Yeah, absolutely. $7.5 million. That's awesome. That is so good. Definitely something that you want to see, and that's great. It's so great to see the community coming together and supporting this because I know this was a primetime game. Everybody saw this. And obviously everybody was worried with the gravity of the situation on the field. You saw all the players, and they were all crying, and the teams were together. That's the beauty of it. That's one of the most beautiful things. Everybody was together. Every position, it didn't matter. The game didn't matter. Nobody's conflicts mattered. All that mattered was Damar Hamlin on the field, and that was just amazing to see. The crowd was great. The audience was great. The game was secondary at that point.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. To put it into a bit of a perspective, how much money that actually is. His rookie deal that he's on is a $3.5 million contract over the next 4 years.
Wow.
And he received that in, less than a week. He's received double that. That's how much money we're talking about and how much impact that can have for his community, for his family, his road to recovery. And, he'll do great things with that money. So this is, I just love it. It's so great. So prayers continue to be with not only Damar Hamlin, but his family and his close friends. It's not just tough on him. It's tough on everyone. And like you said, this is a long road where he's going to need lots of support from those people closest to him, and it's not going to be easy on them. I can't imagine what his parents are going through during this time, the emotional roller coaster that they've been on over the past 3 to 4 days, the extreme highs and lows of hearing the news and then figuring out their son is going to be okay, and just the immaculate reception from not the world, but also his recovery and how fast he seems to be progressing. So, again, just prayers with him and everyone who's close to him, and just hoping that his recovery continues to trend in that positive direction.
Mm-hmm. And I also want to bring to light something that people are forgetting, to keep your prayers for T. Higgins as well.
Oh, yes.
You could only imagine what he's going through, being the one that kind of landed the blow for the hit. Like I said, it was a routine hit, a routine tackle.
Nothing looked vicious about it at all.
It wasn't. Yeah, it didn't look out of the ordinary. It wasn't like a headshot or anything crazy like that. Mm-hmm. T. Higgins didn't even try to make the tackle. T. Higgins was actually tackled.
Yep.
And so the reality of it is that Damar Hamlin got injured though from this play, and T. Higgins was on the other side of that, and that's something that's something to keep in mind whenever you're making your prayers for Damar Hamlin, is to keep T. Higgins in your prayers as well, because
absolutely
you can only imagine kind of what he's been going through with this. And from the latest statement from T. Higgins, he said it's obviously been hard. just because, it had something to do with the play and whatnot. But T. Higgins goes on to say, but everyone has been making me feel whole again. I talked to his mom and everything was okay. He's doing good. So I'm in a good place right now. So that's something that you love to see as well, is T. Higgins kind of communicating with the family of Damar and like him sort of being in that sort of area. Because, I mean, honestly, like it would be hard for him to even continue playing like for the rest of the season, honestly. Like it would be something that's like traumatic. Like I don't want to play aggressively anymore because what if this does happen again? I mean, it's one of those things where like it's kind of it's going to be in the back of his head going forward. And
the social media is just a spiteful place. Like I've seen comments that people are like placing this 100% on him and telling him how horrible of a person, like tagging him in these comments. And it's like people like that, man, that's just the worst kind of people that exist, to just post stuff like that and call him out as this is his fault. Just spiteful, hateful people out there. And I'm glad that he's keeping a good connected circle, and the people who actually matter are telling him, no, this is not on you. Things happen. This is clearly an accident. He, like you said, he didn't lower any part of his body. It almost seemed like he, I don't know. It wasn't a vicious hit. He didn't hit him with the crown of his helmet. Like it just seemed like a routine play, and it just happened to be the thing that set a very tragic event into motion. So that's so positive to hear that he's reached out to the family and that they have connected and sort of given him maybe a little bit of peace with the situation. So, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you're right. He may need to see a sports psychiatrist or sports therapist on the situation to just feel okay about it. I can't imagine having to come back from something like that, a situation like that, where although it's not your fault, you're right. Like it may just give him the feeling of, well, something could happen again. So yeah, absolutely. Keep prayers with him and positive thoughts with him for sure. Mm-hmm. And all the people on social media, like, reach out with a positive comment, not a hateful one. Like, where you can see the positive that has happened with Damar Hamlin's GoFundMe. 229 people, or 229,000 people, have banded together to do something better for this world and for that particular person. Like, imagine if T. Higgins received just a flood of positive comments and mail, and instead of receiving those hateful comments, how much more impact that could have on him. So just try to make the right call, people. Don't be assholes about the situation that you have literally no, you don't have any personal connection to this at all. Just be polite and support the people who are going through this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to see, like, another thing that I'll add about the situation of what happened, seeing Zach Taylor and Sean McDermott just come together and mutually agree to end the game, that was just something great to see as well. Like, just the two head coaches of the team just putting their game aside and stopping everything going on. That's something so great to see. And the NFL's already came out and said that they won't resume the Bills and Bengals game. So it's not going to be made up. It's not going to be anything that goes on into the future. Everything just stopped. Yeah, which is great. I mean, that's 100% okay. And so, like the standings don't matter. I mean, who cares if the Chiefs are the number 1 seed? It doesn't matter. Like the Bills and the Bengals are still going to be in the playoffs. Like that's one thing to keep in mind.
It slightly affects the seeding, but I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, these teams were all great. They're both going to be in the playoffs still. I completely agree. Like this, I don't know. People who think that matters at the moment, it's just a little silly. I mean, I think it's sort of a perfect segue into the other sort of very minor topic we wanted to talk about here, which is what you should be doing if you're a commissioner out there right now, it's obviously a very touchy subject to say, like, listen, everybody bought into this league, and most people who are in a fantasy Super Bowl right now had players of these two teams because they were the highest caliber scoring teams in the NFL pretty much the whole year. So if you probably rode these players to your championship. So Derek and I figured it may just be good to talk about some ways that we have seen to try to help with the murky waters of trying to work through this. So our league specifically, I've seen it done a few ways, but we chose to split the pot of the first, second, and third and fourth. So the two games that are being played, they're just both games are splitting the pots. And I don't know, we haven't really decided what we're going to do for the championship round. Maybe we'll use the Week 18 scores, but again, sort of irrelevant. Just trying to help you navigate the one sort of remaining hurdle on our side of things, so that the focus can go back to what it really needs to be on, and that's, again, player health. So,
yeah, and so like I was in the championship with David, and we talked about it. We talked about it and just came to a mutual agreement. We were just like, because he had T. Higgins, and he was playing T. Higgins, and he could have won, he could have lost. I mean, it doesn't matter. That's the main point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah,
we just decided to mutually split the pot, which is fine. I mean, we were co-champions. So
yeah,
and the third, fourth place people, they did the same thing. I've seen other leagues where if your championship is in week 17, I've seen leagues that pushed them to week 18 instead, and did it like that. I've seen just side bets, like we're gonna bet it all on one player for week 18.
I've seen using projections.
Projections.
Whatever the projected points of the players were going to be, like, boom, that's what you got. You're good. A lot of different creative ways to do it, but I would just encourage anyone who does receive winnings to put it towards a good cause, like, Damar Hamlin's GoFundMe. I think even if it's just a small portion of what you receive, you could at least say you're part of something much bigger than winning. I mean, on the high side, you're winning $500. Congrats. Take $100 of it and throw it towards something that actually matters instead of something you don't need. Right. So I would just encourage anybody who is in a situation like this, if you're splitting the winnings, you manage to keep all the winnings yourself, to use those and put them towards something that is significantly more important than your fantasy football team. And the only reason you get to play this game is because of people like him. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I know for whenever we get our sharings, I'm gonna donate part of it to his charity. I mean, obviously, we're not telling you guys what to do with your winnings, but I mean, that's something, that could be bigger than what you earned. Absolutely. So
we can't tell you what to do, but I highly encourage it. Like, I mean, it's definitely, I think, the good play, but obviously do whatever you want. It's your winnings. But at the end of the day, it's bigger than football. So it's bigger than your fantasy team. It's bigger than any of it. And so, yeah.
I think that's going to do it for us today. I feel like we don't need to talk about anything else. We will be back next week. With a normal podcast. We'll have a special guest next week as well. So we're excited for that. But this week is all about Damar. So we're not gonna talk about anything else. No other news is as relevant as this. So no jokes, no fantasy news, no nothing. Just player health at this moment.
Absolutely. I think it's a good place to end it.
Yep. All right, everybody. Well, we hope you guys have a great week. Hold your family. and be grateful for the life that you have. And we'll see you guys next week. Later.